We've all heard the saying, knowledge is power. But I think we've only been quoting half of it. Knowledge is possibility. It's potential. It can open your mind to something you never knew existed. But knowing is only the beginning. Using it is where these things start to change. Welcome back to the Motivated Savages podcast, where we live bold, lead fearless, and ignite our path forward. I'm Jody Savage, and today isn't about everything you still need to learn. It's about everything life has already taught you, and what becomes possible when you decide to use it. Every single experience leaves something behind. The good ones and the hard ones. We carry something forward from all of them. Perspective, experience, wisdom. Everything we've lived comes with us into whatever happens next. Think about that for a second. There are things you understand today that you couldn't have 5 years ago. Some of those lessons weren't taught to you. You learned them by living. Some knowledge is given, some is earned, and there's a difference. You can learn what courage and resilience mean. Life teaches you what yours looks like. And once you've lived something, once you've earned that wisdom, it's yours. Eventually, knowing asks something of us. It asks to be lived. You trust it. You move with it. And knowledge isn't sitting inside you anymore. It's moving through your life. That's power. Every meaningful thing I've ever done has required that. There were things I could learn before I started this podcast. Things I could research before I wrote a book. Things I could figure out before I built the bookstore. Eventually, preparation runs out. The rest happens when you begin. And I'm so glad that's true. I couldn't know what episode 50 would feel like while I was recording episode 1. I had to live the space between them. And I became this version of myself along the way. Not before I started, because I started. Action introduces you to parts of yourself you haven't met yet. You don't know everything you're capable of. How could you? Think about who you were 5 years ago. That version of you couldn't have imagined everything you've lived since. And yet, here you are. What makes you think you're finished discovering what you're capable of? You're not. And you don't have to know what comes next. That's part of the adventure. Knowledge expands what you can imagine. Action expands what you can experience. There are things you can understand from the shore, but eventually you have to get in the water. Confidence doesn't have to mean knowing what happens next. Maybe it's knowing you'll meet yourself there. Whatever happens, you'll meet it. That's not certainty. That's trust. What if that's enough? Not every answer, not a guarantee. Just enough trust in yourself to see what happens next. There's a whole lot of life in that. One decision can change what you see from where you're standing. And sometimes that's all you need to see the next one. then the next. Until one day you look back and realize you're somewhere you couldn't have imagined from the starting line. Not because you knew exactly how to get there, because you were willing to go. Maybe knowledge was never meant to be the power. Maybe it was meant to show us what's possible. And action is how we find out. There's so much of your life you haven't experienced yet. Think about that. From where you're standing today, you can't possibly know what one decision might set in motion. It might change far more than you ever expected. You can't know from here. And maybe you're not supposed to. We treat the unknown like something we're supposed to solve. Maybe it's something we're supposed to enter, to explore, to experience, to participate in. You don't read the last page of a book before you start it, just so you know everything turns out okay. Where's the fun in that? Part of what makes a story worth reading is not knowing what happens next. Your life gets to have that too. There's room to wonder, to try something without knowing exactly where it will lead. Maybe it changes your mind. Maybe it opens a direction you never saw coming. Maybe you surprise yourself. That's what I want to leave you with today. Not pressure to do more. Not some giant challenge to reinvent your life. Possibility. You already know enough to move forward. Sometimes you have to move and let the view change. That's what movement does. It shows you something you couldn't see before. And now you know more because you moved. Action doesn't just use what you know. It gives you something new to know. And then you get to move again. Maybe that's the invitation in all of this. Take what you know and see where it can take you. So this week's Savage Challenge is simple. Put something in motion. Take one thing you already know and use it. Let it shape one decision, one next step. And then, don't try to predict everything that comes after it. Just pay attention. Notice what changes. Stay open to what you learn. And let yourself find out where it leads. What do you already know that you're ready to put into motion? Knowledge is possibility. Action brings possibility to life. And somewhere between the two, we become. So give yourself the opportunity to surprise yourself. I'm Jody Savage, and this is the Motivated Savages podcast. Live bold, ignite your path. That's the Savage way. If this message resonated, share it with someone who's ready to see what happens next. And if you want to carry this message with you, check out our merch line at motivatedsavages.com. We've designed gear to remind you to live bold every day. Together, we're building the Savage community, a movement of people choosing purpose, growth, and bold living.